All right. Hello and welcome to Backstage with Gig Performer. My name is Brett Pontecorvo, and we are joined today by co-founders David and Neboja for our genre series. If you guys have been following along for a while, then you know that we've been taking this time to intentionally go through the many use cases for Gig Performer. It spans a lot of different possibilities. We had Robert Martin join us a couple of weeks ago, and he had a really simple setup that just worked for him, that kind of ticked off all of the boxes. And then, of course, we had Igor, who was working with a template that he had altered to just make those sounds really fit what he was doing. And then we had Joel Brazzi join us as well. So if you were actually here for any of those shows, go ahead and let me know in the comments which ones you saw, which ones you enjoyed. But I'm actually really excited today because we've got today joining us a beta tester for Gig Performer 4, who has an unbelievably cool and interesting setup. He's making use of some beautiful rack spaces. He's making use of some great scripts. And it's just a really powerful and interesting set. So we're going to bring on here in just a minute Erik Schütz. I said this wrong. I asked him before, and I said that his English is better than my German. I'm going to let him say it for himself when he bring him on here. But he's a Gig Performer 4 beta tester, very much involved with helping shape the software, test and make sure everything is going on. He's also a photographer. He's a musician, generally just really talented guy, all over the Gig Performer forums. So we're going to go ahead and bring him on to join us today and have us walk through some of his rack spaces and show us what he's doing with Gig Performer. So, Erik, welcome to the stream.
Hello, this is Erik from Germany. Well, don't be afraid. I'll do my best not to sound like this.
So good, though. So
Hi,
good.
folks. Nice to be here.
Fantastic. Yeah, Erik, we're so happy to have you join us. And you've been using Gig Performer for quite some time, right? We were trying to figure out beforehand. Do you go all the way back to version 2?
Yeah, I started with version 2 I don't know, something. And then I've been beta tester, already for version 3.
Yes.
And I've been in that beta family since then.
Yeah. And, you know, it's cool. I mean, I think you can probably attest to this, Erik, but like what goes on in the beta testing really is one of the things I think that ensures the software is so stable and works well. I mean, would you agree with that?
Well, it's absolutely stable. Even the beta versions are normally very stable, but the beta testing is mostly about trying new features if they work like expected, and also finding new features. Finding new benefits to implement. And our developers are really busy bees, and they listen to their users and beta testers quite often. Yeah, not always, but quite often.
Yeah, they always say, you know, if we implemented every single thing, then there would never be a product. But yeah, they definitely are awesome at listening. So, Erik, can you tell us maybe just like a brief overview, like before we share the screen and like get into it, can we what are you doing with Gig Performer, and what's your overarching use case, and what do you have going on?
Well, okay, you introduced this episode by showing names, great musicians, the guitarist of the year, and all those people, and I'm not quite there. I'm just a hobbyist. I have fun with making music and playing around with crazy sounds and all this stuff. I'm addicted to technology in general, and so Gig Performer and all these unbelievable plugins you can find on the internet are a great playground for me, and that's what makes me happy. Other people, I don't know, they spend their money on cars or motorcycles or something like that. So if I would compare for that money that maybe a Harley Davidson would cost, I could afford quite a lot of keyboards and plugins.
Yeah,
I'm not yet there.
yes, no, absolutely. But I think what's cool that you said, Erik, that I want to point out is that you love to have fun, and
Yeah, really.
when people start to see your setup, I think that's kind of where the magic happens, right? You actually enjoy this so much
Yeah.
so that you've ended up creating some really awesome some really awesome things. So that the word, right? The word of encouragement is like, have fun when you're making music.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Erik, do you want to share your screen with us and show us a little bit about what you got going on?
Yeah, I will share the screen. Yeah, come on. Whole screen. Now you should.
Okay. Yep, I got it. Okay, and do you want to pull up Gig Performer
Okay.
before I? There we go.
Yeah.
All right. Great.
Well, okay.
So what do we got going on here? What are we looking at?
Okay. This is my, yeah, you can say my standard setup. Okay, I picked some special rack spaces for this live stream now that we can talk about. But below this, the screen block, that's my standard global rack space that I'm using every time. So I'm switching over to the wiring mode of the global rack space. Here we are. So we have a mixer plugin, 8-channel. So for branches, for first one for drums. There's a drum plugin when I play around or do some exercises. I have some drums that I can start, and because that plugin is placed in the global rack space, it will keep playing on even if I change sounds in my local rack spaces. You know, I can start playing piano and change over to an organ, and the drums will play on. And the same
what
thing.
plugin are you using for those drums?
That's a plugin from Air Music. It's actually a German company, if I'm not wrong.
Great.
Yeah, it's nothing very special, but yeah, it was quite cheap, and I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it gets the job done for trying to play but needing a little bit of rhythm behind you to make it fun and interesting, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, then I have the audio file player, that internal plugin that comes with Gig Performer for backing tracks and so on. There is the input from the local rack spaces. And this one is for a microphone. That's the one that I'm using right now.
And before you were using the global rack space, were you running 2 instances of Gig Performer, or did you have this in every?
No, I never tried that, to be honest.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay, always one instance always was sufficient for me.
That's great. So you were showing me yesterday, you've actually got some very interesting things happening in like the actual front panel itself. Do you want to talk a little bit about the front panel for the global rack space?
Yeah, sure. Now that we know what's behind the curtain, there is one field which allows me to open all those plugins by the press of a button. So I don't have to change over to the wiring view or something like that to activate that plugin. It's for the audio player. I have a compressor and at the end of the chain, and an equalizer to filter out some critical frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then there's the drum computer. I can start and stop. There's I can change the tempo.
Nice.
All that is mapped to my little Behringer X-Control, no, X-Touch Mini, that's the name.
Mm-hmm.
A little MIDI controller with 8 knobs and 16 buttons and
Mm-hmm.
one fader. It's cheap. It's really cool. It's a really nice device.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
yeah.
for those who are watching who might not know, what are you doing to open those plugins? Like if somebody's watching this going, "Hey, I really wish I can open my plugins from the front panel." What are you doing? What device are you using to open that plugin? What's the mapping?
Oh, that open buttons are not mapped to my controller, but it was that was really easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
Just switch to edit mode. Oh God, give me that global one. Okay. So you see that button is parameter-wise mapped to the drums plugin, to the open and close plugin editor parameter.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But MIDI-wise, it's not learned to anything yet. But
Yes.
I just could choose the button, let's say 9 from my X-Touch.
Yes.
And then that should do the job. Should be this one. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Okay. So I know, Eric, yesterday we didn't talk about this at all, but I'm like, we're going down this rabbit hole, so we might
No problem.
we might, it might be worth it for some people to know. So you were doing, I've already lost my train of thought. I've got distracted here. We were just doing open and closed parameters. So you went to map MIDI and you had a list. You had a list of all your buttons, right? That's something that's so special in Gig Performer that is just a major time saver. Can you talk a little bit about what that is and how it happened?
Yeah, sure. So if I choose this button here, well, it's learned to button number 8 on my keyboard,
Mm-hmm.
and that list that you can see here.
Mm-hmm.
These are names, alias names I chose for all that controller buttons and knobs, which I learned in the so-called rig manager of Gig Performer. So you can every device, every controller device can have its own alias name, and every controlling element, so each button, each knob can have an alias too, and that alias is then bound to the hardware element or the hardware device. And if you are forced or whatever, you have to change your hardware. So if I'm going to the rehearsal room, let's say, and there is another keyboard, not the one that I'm using right now, but it also has some buttons or some knobs on it. I just could go over here into the rig manager and change these mappings on one location, and these changes would go through every rack space, because in the rack spaces, it's the widgets are not bound to the hardware controller elements itself, but only to the alias names.
Yeah.
So if you change the hardware behind the alias name, everything should run as normal then.
Yeah.
So that saves a lot of work.
It saves so much work, and it's also it's just like it's like icing on the top of the cake, right? Because first, being able to change the controller if you need to is a major time saver. But then knowing the names of these buttons when you're trying to map things quickly, you don't have to go through and twist every knob. which can be a major benefit. I know I cut you off there a little bit, but I was like, this is, if people haven't noticed it, it's definitely worth pointing out. The rig manager is very powerful.
Just a short hint. I started to use these little short names in brackets behind the function. So I know this one is button 8 on my keyboard. This one is knob number 1, button 2, button 1. Yeah. So I don't have to search on the keyboard what is doing what.
Yep. Yeah, that's fantastic. That is a pro tip right there. So this is great. Did I cut you off before you got to the rest of your global Rackspace?
Not really. You can see what's going on here. There is four knobs to adjust the volume of those 4 stereo channels. So the from Rackspace, that one, the drums, how loud they come in, and or the audio player, and me talking on the microphone here on the last channel. And you see the final volume that's going out here in the global volume. So I mapped this fader on the fader of my controller. So if I'm too silent or too loud, I can correct that on one location. So that's just one fader to give me more or less volume.
Yep, that's fantastic. And then what's is this the Rackspace that you set up that's got the automatic switching?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
You want to show that one?
That's one of those two.
Gotcha.
This is that's a piano sound, and here this yellow greenish field. You see there is a crossfade widget and a knob which reads auto fade. And behind that is a scriptlet I wrote, which turns a parameter up on a button press or something like that. And if you press that button again, it will turn it down again. So I can crossfade between 2 sounds. So see?
Yep.
And so we want us back again.
Yes. Yeah. So what's the pro of doing this? Like, why is this useful for you? Why might this be useful for somebody else to have that auto crossfade?
Yeah, I use this because at first I don't like splits on my keyboard, and I only have 61 keys. So if I'm splitting this, I don't know, I don't like it. And so on some songs that we play, we have a small band with friends. We are just jamming. If there was no COVID, we would do it one day a week. We sit together and make some music together. And there are some songs when I need to switch over to a lead sound, be it a flute or something like that. And yeah, because I don't like splits, I just did it with this crossfade that I automated. Yeah,
that's amazing. And so this is crossfading. It eliminates the need for you to use keyboard splits. But then, what's going on behind that? Like, is there?
I switch over to the wiring view.
Yeah.
So you see there are 2 branches. Let's give it a bit more space. This is the one with a piano that goes into that premix where I can adjust the loudness of each sound, how loud it goes into the mix. This one structure, that's a sampler plugin, I think. It's good for bread and butter sounds. It's also from Air Music Technology. Really cheap, but it does the job. It's yes. Cool. Yeah. And there behind that mix, there is a plugin that I use. It's called MRatio, which does this crossfade effect.
So this is what's responsible for the sounds fading in and out, or that's
responsible for the fading. But what I'm doing one step more. I'm bypassing I'm bypassing the unused plugin that is currently not played to save some CPU cycles.
Yes.
So
yes.
that
how are you doing that?
Yeah, that happens automatically with a script. So I'm checking that crossfade button here. So before it's coming fully to the left, then it will bypass the flute sound, and vice versa. Just before it goes, it's fully cranked up, then it will bypass the piano sound.
So you're doing a little bit of scripting here, which by the way, if you're watching right now and you have any questions about Erik's setup, or you want him to talk more about any of these things, go ahead and let us know that in the comments. We'll do our best to answer those questions. But Erik, so you're using some scripting to do some things for you. It's not always totally necessary, right? You can use Gig Performer without it. But if you don't know anything about scripting, we've got an option for those people, right? And you're using a scriptlet for the auto fade, but you're using a full script for the bypass, right?
In this case, in this Rackspace, I use both of them. There is the scriptlet, this one. I called it auto move.
Yep.
If you double click that, a scriptlet, let me explain, is a plugin that was made from some users like me or some other users in the forum. Everyone who is able to script can also program a scriptlet. But you don't have to be a programmer to use a scriptlet. You can download it from the forum, place it into your favorites folder, and then you can place it into your wiring view exactly like any other plugin you know. So this one will come in as you see it here, just an orange box with a MIDI input and MIDI output, and if you double click it, you'll see there are 3 parameters exposed. There is one that says start moving, and there is another one where you can adjust the speed of the movement of that knob. And so you see when I switch that start moving parameter to go, then the widget control that this fader will be mirrored on any widget you can map it to. So when I see,
yep,
and this all can also be triggered by a widget, or then also a MIDI controller, like a button on my keyboard or something like that.
Yeah, so if you're watching, and this is all brand new, in the community forum, we have Rackspaces and gigs that you can download. Some of those include scriptlets. So they are really easy to access. Like the front that you saw is all you'll see. So if scripting is not a thing that you're doing, but you want to get that, there's actually, Erik, I believe there is a version of this plugin to download in the Gig Performer forum, if somebody's interested in doing that particular thing.
There is also another one that does something similar, but that's it offers even more options, like this small one that I made. Yeah, that this one is was it good enough for me? I don't wanted to have too much buttons around and too much options. I just didn't need them. But yeah, if anyone is interested in especially this one, just contact me on the forum. No problem. You can get it if you want it.
Neboja just raised his hand, so I'm going to pull him in. I think he has something to add. Here goes.
Nothing
Thanks for
too
popping on,
important.
Neboja.
Hi guys. Nothing too important. Just to add that when you start Gig Performer, there's various templates for keyboard players, for guitarists, and so on. The very last one is called Cool Stuff, and that's basically almost all scriptlets and scripting. So like triads with one finger, X-Fade, and so on. So you don't even have to, you can just explore that and try if you're interested. So that's just there. Just wanted to mention it.
Yeah.
Good hint, Bosha.
Yeah.
Good hint.
So Erik, let's pop back to your rack space here, and just see. So you've talked about this auto fade thing. Do you mind actually just showing people what the scripting interface looks like if nobody has ever seen that before, and then maybe we can look at some of the other ones you were showing me.
Yeah, sure. I have to say first, in Gig Performer 4, we have different areas that can be affected
Yes.
or can be handled with scripts. There is you can find everything under the window menu. So you see there is a Rackspace script. There is the global Rackspace script, and there's a song script and even a gig script. So that those are different locations and different tasks that a script can do. The one I use is that Rackspace script, which is always bound to a special Rackspace, a particular Rackspace here. So every Rackspace has a script block that might be used or not used, but so I have to open that Rackspace script editor, and that's how a GP script looks like. There are different code blocks, which have different functions. What they do. There is always only one script. There are different functions, but there is only one script per Rackspace. There are not multiple of them of scripts. Sorry. Yeah.
The interesting thing to note is that I don't like programming. For me is beyond my scope. But like as a non-programmer looking at this stuff, it's all English. Like it's just all like standard language. So if you have an understanding of standard language, then you can at least access this in some way. And it is all documented as well. So if you're trying to learn more about it, it seems like the entry point is possible for you if you have a desire to do that.
Yeah, and there are still the forums. If there are any questions or if you need help doing something, just come to the forums and ask your questions. There are so many helping hands there. I must say, without being too much over the top, but that Gig Performer forum is one of the most helpful places I found on the internet until now, and I've seen some forums.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. It's also extremely active, so people are on there. Yeah. They're using stuff. They're answering questions. It's a very contribution heavy place where people are really trying to help each other. yeah, it's a great place to hang out. If so if you're not on the forums, definitely check them out because good things are happening there. Okay,
And
so
and a big benefit of this special forums of Gig Performer is that the developers are a very active part of them too. So the developers are always around and see and read what the users have to complain about, or what they want, or what they like, what they do. They are always there, and they are helpful too.
Yep.
They do a great job there.
Yep, absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. So what else do you have going on here? Maybe we could look at your organ rack space.
Yeah, sure. That would be this one. Everyone was talking about the Blue 3 plugin, and one day when I had some money left, I thought, oh well, okay, let's try this, and I liked it. And
You like it.
yeah, and when I like something, I start to play around with it. Also graphically, as you can see.
Yeah. So, you clearly have kind of a gift for making your rack spaces look, well, first of all, they look neat and clean, but second of all, they look approachable. Like I don't know what you do with this organ, but if I opened this up and saw this rack space, I would be able to use it because you've labeled things clearly, you laid it out in an approachable manner. So if somebody's like trying to figure out how to design their rack space, like what would you say to them? Like how should they go about it to make them look organized and laid out? Do you have any tips for people?
That's a hard one.
Sure.
I don't know if I can give you some general advice. I guess at least everyone will fail with their designs the first 2 or 3 times until they know what they want to do and what's the best way to do it, and what to avoid, and what works and what doesn't. That's what was happening to me as well. What I can say, first think of what you want to what you need on the screen. Think about labels. You said everything on my screen is properly labeled. Yeah, that's also one thing to care about. And if there are something like that, a big number of similar items, make one of them. First, make one of them. That's a pet widget, and then switch over if you want to name them by yourself. That's a customized caption here. Switch it to customized. Maybe let that empty, or it doesn't matter. So maybe you want that widget to hide the temporary value. So switch that off. If you are working with switches or knobs, you want to hide the backplate, so there is no scale around it. Do all this stuff with one, and if that behaves like you like it to do, and then you can go and duplicate just by marking it, and then press Control D for duplicating it, and you see that duplicate has all the properties that the first one has. It happens that I forget this to do. Yeah, I forgot to do this first, and then you have 12 buttons where you each and every one have to hide the temporary value. Okay, hide it and click and hide it and do it over and over again. That's quite naggy. So life could be easier if you first think of all the stuff you really want to do.
Yeah, and I guess there's some element of this too that is very much leaving yourself the time to have a bit of trial and error till you end up with something you like. Would you say that's true?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's actually a great tip. So do all of the work on one and then duplicate them out. What are you doing with variations for this? Because you've got a lot of parameters. How are you taking use of the variations?
Yeah, Gig Performer has on one hand the Rackspaces, where every state of every plugin in that Rackspace is stored, and then you have the variations of a Rackspace, and the variation only stores the state of the widgets you see on the panel, nothing behind it. A variation does not store a plugin state. It only stores the state of the widgets. Yeah, and if a widget is not there, it cannot be stored. So that's the reason why I use many of them, or almost all parameters. I mirrored with a widget on that front panel. So that way, just a moment, my screen wants to go in energy saving mode. Okay. Okay.
It's calling it quits. It's tired.
Yeah. And because I have all the parameters that the organ plugin offers, I have all of them as widgets on my panel. I can save all the widget states as a variation, and so I can have very different sounds of the same plugin by using variation. So this that's with a bit overdrive and yeah.
And what are you doing? So in this Rackspace, what are you doing for controlling Leslie speed and that type of a thing? Because I know that's like a thing people talk about with this.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, you know what? Before we do that, actually, we got a question. Somebody said, can you duplicate widgets from the global to the local Rackspace?
That's a good question.
I'm pretty sure you can copy and paste them. Well, I know you can copy and paste them, and if you
maybe I just had to try it now. Maybe David or Neboja can.
David wants it. I'm going to bring him in. Here
this question
right away. David.
Yes, hi there. Good, nice to see you, Eric. And very cool looking Rackspaces. I'm ashamed for anybody to see my Rackspaces. When I see things like yours, I have like 3 knobs just in arbitrary places, and arbitrary sizes and colors.
Yeah.
Yes, you can copy widgets from the global Rackspace into a local Rackspace, no problem. The next version that we put out, and I don't know when that will be, but we've improved to that a little bit. So if your widgets are controlling parameters in the global Rackspace and you copy them, the mappings will get copied as well automatically. So you don't have to go back and map those widgets after you've pasted them. Right now you can copy and paste, but they're not going to do anything unless you go map them.
Yeah, thanks for that, David. And if you are trying to do that with the express purpose of controlling them, we have parameter numbers, right? Like
right. So the parameters in a global Rackspace are exposed through the toGlobal, which is like a plugin in a local Rackspace. And as far as widgets are concerned, It's a plugin, so you can map plugins just like any that you would to any other plugin. Control the parameters of any other plugin.
Yeah, so that's a good tip. And Neboja also added you can save entire panels and pull them in. If you make something you like or something close to it, save the panels and pull them in. David, did you have any other thoughts?
No, I think that answers the question. I hope.
Yeah, I think so. All right, and Neboja actually also wants people to know that Gig Performer 4 does come with some templates for panels. So Erik, we were talking about how you're controlling your rotary speed, which is it's just fascinating to me. It's like this is power user stuff happening right here. But can you talk a little bit about what you're doing for rotary speed?
Yeah, I like to switch Leslie speed. Yeah, when I'm playing, I hands on the keyboard, and I like to use Aftertouch for this. So I wrote a script that's working behind the curtain again, which checks for a press of the Aftertouch, and then switches the Leslie speed when I press.
Hey, Erik, I think you have this set up so that if you're playing music, it chokes your volume out, your mic volume out. So anything that you said while you were playing that note, we missed, but I think we got the vibe. Do you want to just?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. No. Okay.
So you've got. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, please.
So as I understand it, what you've done is you've written a script so that depending on how hard it watches aftertouch. So depending on what aftertouch you're using on the keys, it changes the rotary speed.
Yeah, right. I can set a threshold for how hard I have to press that the effect takes place, that the switching happens. So when I started to use this script, I didn't have a threshold. So the slightest press on the aftertouch was switching the Leslie speed, and so I had to set a threshold to, I don't know, that pressing power, that value goes from 0 to 127. So now it's around, I don't know, 90 something. So I have to press quite hard that the switching happens. So I don't accidentally switch to fast or slow or something like that. Yeah, and at the same time, it's not only the aftertouch. That's also mapped to a button on my keyboard. Yeah, and also to the sustain pedal. So
you have options.
Yeah, I have options. Whatever. If I have a free hand or a free foot, yeah, I can switch Leslie.
And what I think is interesting here, this is actually, it's fascinating for me because after talking to so many people who are creating awesome things with Gig Performer, something every single person has in common is that they build in layers. Like you didn't know you were going to need a threshold until you built the thing and found out that you needed to build a threshold. So then you added it. So it's sort of this, gradual chipping away at creating something that's really powerful and effective. It's interesting to point out, right? Like everything, all of this stuff happens over time. And then you have one other cool thing about this panel, the presets and what you're doing there with the preset buttons.
Oh yeah. If you just open the plugin, there is this black octave at the bottom of the keypad on many organs, which lets you switch between presets. And I mirrored this keys on with that bunch of buttons here. So these buttons represent this preset octave. And the special thing about these buttons here is that they behave as radio buttons. So a radio button group means that only one of all those buttons may be active. If you switch another one active, the other one, the old one, has to be switched off. And so you have to, you can just switch between those presets. All those buttons are already are also mapped to the keyboard. So if I'm pressing keys on my keyboard now, you see it's not only changing the drawbars, but also those knobs will react to any press of the key. The preset octave. So sorry.
No, this is great. This is great.
And this is also done by script, because unfortunately we don't have the radio button function yet in Gig Performer. But yeah, you can help yourself with some scripting. There is also I did an example in the forums. You can find that very easily, and I don't think it's too hard to understand. And yeah, as I said before, if there are questions, just ask ahead.
So what this is, just first of all, just a gorgeous. I feel like there were two other rack spaces we wanted to look at. One of them was modeled after a particular plugin that you didn't like the layout, and the other one was the very cool audio player thing that you wrote for jumping between tracks. I don't know which one of those you want to do first, but they're both very cool.
Yeah. Okay. Let's switch over to that one. It's based on the Archetype Plini guitar plugin from Neural DSP. I really like that plugin, but I won't play any tone on my guitar because people don't want to hear that.
You're not ready yet. Well, we'll bring you back in a couple of months.
I'm just at the very beginning, and you can create sounds with a guitar. I think you can only top that with a violin.
Yes.
Or a bagpipe or something like that. I don't know.
The bagpipe is the winner there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, goodness. So this looks gorgeous.
You can see that I liked that plugin because I made a beautiful panel of it for it, and this is the original look of the plugin. So everything is shattered on different screens. So you have the input effects, and then there is the amp section itself with all that parameters, and then you can switch over to an equalizer, and there's the cabinet, which I didn't include it in my rack space, because I think that cabinet stuff is something you adjust once, and if you like the sound, then that's okay. You won't change anything. And if someone wants to change that settings, just insert an additional panel, blend out the global one, and you can add another panel just for that cabinet parameters. And then there are the After Effects delay and reverb, and I tried to place everything of that on one view.
Yeah,
and I also inserted a wah-wah pedal. Yeah. And so the signal chain will stay quite the same. So it's from left to right. It goes from compressor to overdrive into the amp section. Below is the equalizer, and then comes the After Effects.
Yes.
So everything is neat and clean on one panel.
Yeah, and so is the wah-wah the same part of the same plugin, or did you add an additional?
No. In that plugin there is no wah-wah included.
Mm-hmm.
I used one from let me see, Kuasa.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's should be learned to my expression pedal.
Yep.
You see it that moves, and you can activate it or not. There are different types of wah-wahs you can emulate with that plugin, and there's the range, the Q factor, and level. Those things, that these wah-wah offers.
Yeah, and that's actually great. It's a good example, because this is why Gig Performer is like a needed software, right? Because otherwise you would be limited to one sound, right? You open it up and that's what you have. But because of your hosting within Gig Performer, you can combine these in any order that you want to, make use of all the different plugins, and create any sound that you want all in one place.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right.
And I think the pro tip here too, like in addition to the fact that like you're combining plugins, is that, you know, you are designing these rack spaces to reflect signal chain. So you're able to easily look at it and know at what point within the plugin you're altering things. And then if you need to go in, you have a convenient button to open it. So I assume, you can correct me if I'm wrong, once you build these front panels, you don't really go to the wiring view. Is that true? I'm making an assumption.
Yeah, right. I can open the plugin from the front panel with the press of a button. I'm there. I can switch presets. I can play around with any parameter I have at hand on that panel, and there's no need to go to the wiring view anymore.
Yep. And the two plugins together with the front rack space then become one sound generating thing. Which
right.
is so cool. Yeah. This is awesome. So you blew my mind a little bit with the whole audio player thing. And I know it's a little bit of a unique thing, but would you mind showing us what that is? And so those of you who are watching, this is actually probably the last rack space we're going to look at. So if you have any questions for Erik, make sure you put those in the chat, because I would love to have him be able to answer any of your questions about what you're seeing, or if you have anything you want to ask him about. Now would be the time, even if it's not about this particular thing. If you have any questions for him, feel free to pop those in the chat. So Erik, what do we have going on here?
I made this because there were some questions about the internal audio file player that comes with Gig Performer on how to do this and that. Then I tried to I started to play around to see what can be done and what cannot be done, what's there, what's not there. So if you I just take I don't know.
we can have a nonsense loop like yesterday too, if you.
We can do this, but there's a drum loop. So you can start it. There's a play button, and it also does pause the playing. But if you want to stop that sound while playing, you can only jump back to to the beginning, but it keeps playing. So if you want to stop and go back to 0, you have to press 2 buttons in a row. First pause the playing and then go back to 0. So there is no real stop button. I wondered why that is, but scripting is your friend in those cases. So I wrote a script to get a stop function. You see?
Yes.
And there are 8 lanes in that audio file player. You can load 8 different sounds, samples, songs, whatever, into each of those slots. There is a loop mode, which would play all of those again and again. One of those slots is always the master, and this is the longest of all of the used slots. So the length of the master track, of the longest track, will determine the loop, the loop length. So and there is also you can switch between single or multi mode. So you can have multiple sounds played at once. So that's what I did yesterday.
Yes.
So where was it?
This whole scripting was prompted by a forum question. Is that correct?
Yeah, initially, yes. Yeah. So that what's happening when I try to find things out.
Yeah, right.
How to do something or yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, I've loaded very different sounds in 4 of the lanes. So that's the panel I created for that. You can switch between you can switch loop mode on and off between single and multi. If I switch to single play, these 8 buttons will represent the 8 lanes. And so okay, and these buttons also work in a radio button behavior. So you can, while the playing is going on, you can switch between the tracks on the fly. So I can pause it and make it play on, or I can stop it with the press of 1 button. It will stop and go back to 0, as you can see in the counter here.
Yeah, and this is on the forum, right? Like this Rackspace that you built exists somewhere in the forum.
Yeah, I'm just about to refine that thing a little bit, but I'm stuck at the moment because something doesn't work as I want to.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, so
there's the multi-mode just to make a little bit chaos.
Yeah, right. But there could be a use case for this.
Okay.
In multi-mode, you can bring them in and out, but you can end up bringing tracks in and out at the same time.
Yeah, that's right.
So this is like the beginning of there are a lot of implications of what you could do here. My head immediately goes to, you could be using this to create somewhat flexible backing tracks while you're playing along with them. Like if this lived in the global Rackspace and you had 8 different types of grooves, maybe you have 2 drum grooves, you have 2 different bass lines, you have some things that you're pulling in and out. This becomes like a flexible playback system using the audio player in the current setup you have here. Like this could end up doing way more for you than just playing back a backing track. This is very powerful.
Or you could use it as a one-shot sample player, so something like that.
Yep. This is this is very profound. I actually didn't even think about this when you first showed it to me. But yeah, there are some cool things that could happen from having this type of functionality. So yeah, that's amazing. Erik, did we miss anything, Erik? I want to make sure people get all of the stuff, because we talked through a lot of different rack spaces. I think there's been a lot of value. I want to just make sure we didn't miss anything before we start wrapping up for today.
Let me think. No, I think we basically have talked about everything.
So for those of you who are watching, if you'd like to get in touch with Erik, join the Gig Performer forum. If you go to the Gig Performer website, you can click the community button up on top, and you can go find Erik there. Also, Erik is a photographer, so we're going to have a link to his photography website in the description. He's making some very cool pictures, stuff you'll definitely want to check out. And then a lot of these rack spaces are available in the forum. So actually, I do want to do that. So it looks like we've got coming in some questions. So forum stuff, a lot of these rack spaces are available in the forums. I don't know if all of them are, but Glenn has a question about a second monitor. So before we wrap up, I'm going to bring Neboja in. Are you ready, Neboja? Great.
Hey, Glenn. Yeah, thanks for that question. Unfortunately, the global rackspace is part of the same window, but what can be done is, for example, what David does. He's using OSC and his iPad to bring whatever he wants in front of, to the left side of him. So you can take an iPad with any kind of OSC application, hook it up to Gig Performer, and show anything you want from it, including global rackspace, elements from the local rackspace, current song, and whatever you want, and put that there. So while you cannot just take apart that into separate windows right now, you could use OSC to bring it to a separate tablet.
Mm-hmm. And we actually, next week, we have a video coming out that will showcase David's OSC setup. So Glenn, I actually do think that could be an awesome option for you. Neboja, we also have a Lemur template, right?
Yes, we have a Lemur template. We have the Touch OSC template. There's also in the forums, you can find others. I think Nemanja did research on some of the other OSC applications. So there's a bunch of them out there.
Yep. Thank you so much, Neboja. And then there was one question. I don't think Corne wrote in and he said, can we find all of these rack spaces in the forum? I don't think all of these are in the forum, but most of them are in the forum, right? Or the blue three is in the forum.
Yeah, most of them are in the forums. And if you're interested in a special one, just ask me. I will upload it. That's no problem.
Awesome, Erik. We really appreciate that. So yeah, if there's something that you're particularly interested in, feel free to reach out to Erik and let him know. Erik, this has been awesome. As we're talking, I already have plans to bring you back and all sorts of good stuff. So thank you. Hopefully you say yes after today, but
yeah, sure, why not?
Thank you so much for being here. Friends, thank you so much for watching. Is the audio file player one? Yes, it's there. And yeah, thank you guys so much. So we will be pausing briefly for the holidays, but we will be back either the first or second week of January, and have a look at your newsletter for when that's going to be. But we will still have fresh content coming out for you guys next week. So hope to see you all soon. Connect on the forum, and hope you guys have a great day.